What's up, rats? It's XDR. We are making a very in-depth Phoenix utility guide. How to use this utility, some small niche things that a lot of people don't know. And this is going to be different than my in-depth guides because I'm mainly going to be talking about the pieces of util and less so how to actually play Phoenix. If you want a guide on how to play Phoenix aggressively and properly, for that matter, I'll talk about it a little bit in here, but I'm not going to go too much into depth because that would be goofy of me when I have hour-long videos on Phoenix playstyle and whatnot. So we're going to talk about every piece of utility, how to use it properly, and the best ways to properly use them.
Wait a minute, is that the exclusive RGX blade that XTR always uses in his videos? That's right. If you want to get one of your own, but don't have the money for it, let me tell you about this cool little website known as Free Cash.
And Free Cash has a lot of offers. I currently have 17 cents because I just cashed out the 20. But you can do things like this Coin Master, and this is iOS and Apple, and that's quite a heavy chunk of change just to download and play a game. And granted, you kind of have to grind it and play it a lot to get to that point where you're making the entire offer off of it. I mean, it's still a way to make some money. There's surveys and app installations. I prefer the app installations. It's not nearly as tedious, but there's also surveys as well. There's also TikTok here, which is why I'm saying the app installations is so much easier. You can just download TikTok with the QR code and just use it for a bit using the QR code, and you'll make $1.50, you know? So it adds up over time. A lot of these are really grindy, but there are a lot that can be done super quick for some extra money. Right here's the cash out process. There's a lot you can do: PayPal, Bitcoin, Amazon, Netflix, ton of gift cards, Valorant gift cards, CSGO gift cards. I already cashed out using PayPal, so I can't really show the entire process, but I can show you here that this is there. So usually you click PayPal and you'd cash out, and they'd send the money right to your PayPal. As you can see here, here's where I got 20 bucks from them as my first payout. They have over 30,000 reviews on Trustpilot. They worked with Anomaly, they worked with Coinbase. And if you use my code, you can be entered into a giveaway for $250. And if you use my link in the description as well, you can sign up for free. So once again, thank you Free Cash for sponsoring the video, and hope you guys enjoy the guide. See ya.
So we have the wall first. We'll start with the wall. And the wall is pretty good for the most part. There's a lot of things you can do with it. Obviously you can heal with it. Obviously you can heal with these two pieces of util, including your ultimate. So generally you're going to want to use it to cut off angles like this. And what you can do is, what I like to do is I will swing close to the wall, clear everything, and then once everything's clear, including elbow, I can hold and fall back and hold heaven and rafters. That way my team can walk out as well. But it's really good to kind of split angles and isolate them with this wall, and you can kind of just use this as cover to clear other things and then focus on what's behind the wall when it drops, because a lot of times people are either going to push through your wall, which is pretty common for the most part if you're playing against aggressive players with flashes, or they're going to just wait behind your wall for it to drop and hopefully catch somebody off. Now, there are a lot of ways to use this wall other than just angle isolation and portable cover, and I'm going to show a couple ways you can do some things with it. So I'm going to play a clip on screen right now. This is angle forcing, basically. This is where you are using the Phoenix wall to force out an angle, right? As you can see in this clip here, I get the 2 kills and then I throw the wall so I can't get peeked through the lane here on Pearl. And the whole goal of throwing this wall is because I know Jet has knives and she's gonna want to try and take the jump peek from spawn there. So I throw the wall, and then from there I know that the Jet has only one option to peek me, because generally they're not gonna just sprint through the wall. If they do, you can usually react to it pretty quick, but Jet's only real option here is to take the jump peek from CT if they really want to peek me, and if they don't, I can just wait for the wall to drop, and I could probably still get the kill, but it gives me kind of a second to breathe, and I also know the only angle they're really going to try peeking is the angle I forced them into peeking. You can also combo this with Molotov. So one of the things I like to do is I'll throw the wall in an area where it kind of just shoves them into an angle, and then I'll molly it off, and then they're forced to either peek through the wall, go up the zip, or run forward here, and you can peek them from both sides. If I do it like this as well, and I know he's here, let's say for some reason there's a wall here, and I throw the wall through, I know he's tucked out, I can throw the molly, and he only has options of running through the wall, and if he doesn't run through the wall here, I have the option of just peeking and swinging him when he's trying to get out of the molly. So you kind of just do it quickly. and kind of forces them to react. Phoenix is good at forcing people to react to the way he's using his utility with the Molotov and the wall. So you can do a lot of mind games with the wall that a lot of people just don't really necessarily do, and is pretty overlooked in a general sense. Another small thing aside from entering is just general repositioning. If I wanted to, let's say I was stuck out on the rafter and I wanted to move into here, this is usually a pretty good deterrent that they're not going to walk through the wall, so you can kind of just make yourself a little like hallway, which is what I tend to do a lot when I want to reposition. I'll just make like a very tiny hallway and I'll kind of walk along it. And another thing is faking a like rotate like that, because obviously with Phoenix, usually the thing with Phoenix is all of his util is pretty easy to read. You know what he's doing. So if in a general sense, if you throw his utility, players are generally going to know why you threw that piece of utility. If I'm in here in mail and let's say they got a pick in vents, if I throw a wall like this, what are they generally going to think I'm doing with this, right? Generally, they think I'm probably going to like walk over here and retake this position. That way there's somebody in vents. So generally, every single time you throw this wall to kind of move to an angle, it will always be spammed. So I always wait like 2 or 3 seconds and then just jump across if I really want to switch the angles. And and it can also be used as a fake rotate, right? Where you're faking the rotate into vents. You kind of just sit here and wait. This one works pretty well. This isn't the best example of it because usually there's going to be another male player here anyways, but you get the point, right? Like you can kind of use this to fake that you're going somewhere else. Another great example of this actually is screens that I use quite often. So in screens over here, what I like to do a lot of the times is I will throw this wall that makes it look like I'm crossing to elbow, and then I will swing through the wall like this and clear everything, and I'll start walking up here. If I don't see anything, I'll throw a flash on elbow to fake presence that I'm trying to take elbow control, and then I can swing like this and try and get any kills on sight that might be there on a retake. That's very, very good to do. Using this to fake that you're going to a very common angle that people would generally wall with Phoenix Wall is super strong. And another way to reinforce the fact that you're going to be there is to do this, clear this angle, throw a molly, and then kind of just wait here for a second. If you're sure they're not going to be peeking you from these angles, you can walk through it, and then you can start clearing sight and whatnot. And that molly kind of forces them to think that you're around in that area and you're going to flash through the molly. So there's a lot of mind game potential you can do with the wall specifically. And it's very heavily overlooked. Another thing you can do with the wall, and I've gone over this in every video, but for anyone that doesn't know, if there's ledges, a lot of the times they'll get stuck and they won't clip up. If you want to go over them, just aim upwards. Not that drastically. It doesn't have to be that drastically. There you go. Yeah. So just aim upwards a little bit. It'll carry it onto the ledge. You can do this in some certain areas. I like to do this when I'm standing right here and we already kind of have sight control. If there's threats from heaven, if there's players peeking from heaven, we don't have a smoke, I can pretty much just smoke it off with my wall. So now you know that if you didn't. And aside from that, there's the flashes. I'm going to throw an example up on the screen of the flashes as well. Probably just a couple for the reverse, the bank flash, which are the two that I use the most in my videos that you guys see a lot. Now there's obviously double flashing, which is very strong, where you flash once and then you wait a bit and you flash again. That'll kind of go against anyone that is playing counter flash. And a lot of the times after that first flash comes out, they are staring at the angle that you're gonna peek, waiting because they know the flash is out and hopefully they can somehow get the kill on you. But if you throw the flash again, they have really no choice but to start spamming, and you can kind of wait out the spam and swing and kill them. The double flash, like just double flashing in general, spending both your flashes for a kill or two is super valuable. You know, it's always going to be worth it if you use your flashes to get one kill. As long as you are using your utility to bring the round into your favor a bit more, it's fine. You know, don't be afraid to use both your flashes. If you have any doubt or you think that they're still holding you after that first flash, throw that second one. Don't be afraid to do it. Now you generally just have the regular flash, right? Everyone knows how to use the regular flash. There's the bank flash where if you get up on the wall, right click and swing with it, it'll pretty much, it's a great counter for anyone playing anti-flash. As I'll show on screen right here, we were playing streamer games and Judgment was trying to play anti-flash after I threw my molly, because it's very obvious that after I throw that molly, I'm going to flash and take a fight. So I throw the bank flash in order to counter anyone who is playing anti-flash, and luckily for me, they were. So it's very risky because a lot of the times when you do the bang flash, your gun obviously isn't out right away. But for anyone that's playing counter flash, you are going to have the drop on them. So there's always that. And if they do have their guns out and you swing wide enough, you can kind of turn it into like a pop and swing kind of deal where you're swinging with the flash and you keep going if they're still aiming at you. And that way, they still end up getting blind anyways. You can re-peek into the angle and you can get the kill. So that's the bank flash. The bank flash is very, very good. Very, very strong. And the reverse flash is probably the one I use the absolute most. It is easily one of the best ways to throw the flashbang for reasons of you can swing much quicker. So if you throw the flash like this, you kind of have to wait a bit for it to pop for the most part. You can still peek when it's popping, as you see, but it's quicker to just do the reverse flash and you're instantly in the fight by the time the flash pops. That way, if you're fighting somebody, let's say here, for instance, they're shooting at you, they are blind while you are shooting. So you pretty much don't get blinded at all by this flash, but the enemy that is currently fighting you does. So it's a very good way to just get a super fast swing out. And if for some reason the fight lasts a little bit too long, then the enemy is blind and you should usually come out on top in that fight. The reverse flash is super, super strong. I use it all the time and it works phenomenally. It is very, very good to use that type of flash. The basic flashes are good. The basic flashes are super good. They're super fast, super hard to react to. And the reverse flashes are pretty much impossible to counter. But if they tend to kill you before the flash pops, that's the only time that the bank and reverse flash are kind of useless, is when they just, shoot you before you can even shoot back. That's like the big downfall to these two types of flashes, these two extra flashes. There's also the ground flash, but that one's kind of dog. Doesn't really do anything. Also, when you're throwing your flashes, let's say you can reverse flash or flash for teammates, right? If you don't have time to call your flash, let's say a teammate is just running out here and there's somebody elbow, you can just throw it behind them, right? As long as they're holding and pushing towards elbow and you throw this flash, you are still flashing for them. So you don't have to throw a basic flash that'll flash them if you don't have time to call it out for them. So just keep that in mind. You can always flash for your team using the reverse flash. It doesn't have to be a normal flash and you don't have to be like, hey, I'm flashing for you guys. You can just reactively throw this behind your teammates randomly. So let's say my teammate is out front here and for some reason I'm not able to swing. Let's say the box is a lot longer than this, right? For example. So I know my teammate's fighting, so I will throw a flash over and I will start working my way out. And hopefully that flash will save him from the people fighting him. So you can use your flash to assist your teammates and kind of get them out of sticky situations. Honestly, very strong to use it that way as well. There's a lot of ways you can use this thing. It's not just a left click throw. There's bank flash, there's the bank flash, there's the reverse flash. There is also flashing for your teammates in multiple different ways. And there are flashing upwards and downwards, which is also good. A lot of ways you can flash downwards is something like this and then clearing there. Generally, if the enemy player is looking up and if you are using your footsteps on the metal, they will be looking up. If you throw the flash downwards into their face, it will blind them usually. So you can throw it down. Another place you can throw it down is down into vents if you know somebody's holding it, and you can kind of peek like that. This is a way I get a lot of kills when I'm in or trying to retake vent control. The only issue is if there's a fucking rat with a judge just sitting here waiting for me, he's still probably going to win the fight because that gun is fucking stupid. Moving on, we have the ultimate ability. The ultimate ability is pretty good for the most part. It's actually great. Just a Sova drone that can kill people, right? They made it so it reloads your gun and you get you don't lose armor in it anymore. The old downside to it used to be that you would lose armor. So quickly, I'm just gonna run through what you can do with his ultimate in situations that you generally wouldn't think about. So we're just gonna make this quick, right? The ultimate has a timer, obviously, when you pop it, and you can clear everything out for your team. So you will pretty much always be the first man in when you are using your ultimate ability. It's pretty easy to farm at only 6 points. So keep that in mind when you're playing Phoenix. Make sure you're farming it if you don't have any more valuable ults. And also, when you are playing Phoenix and you have your ultimate, you have a lot of value in the round. You are a second life for the team. Think of it like that. So generally, you don't want to be playing super aggressive when you have your Phoenix ult. unless you want to make an aggressive play with your Phoenix ult. But if you don't plan on using it, don't put yourself in a position where you're just going to get picked for free. That would be stupid. You have value when you have this ultimate. You generally don't have nearly as much value. You're just a player when you don't have your ultimate. But when you get that sweet ultimate, you want to try your best to play in a bit more of a passive play style. Like, don't bait your team. I mean, I do, obviously, because I play for content most of the time. But don't bait your team just because you have your ultimate, right? You can always play retake with ult. So if you're holding a site down, you get a pick, you can fall off and play retake with your team using your ultimate. If their enemy team is pushing and you are CT and the T side is pushing out, you can use your ultimate from... Generally, you're going to want to use it from somewhere like screens if you're playing on A site. So generally what will happen is if I'm the rotator and I'm coming in and my team is about to get pushed, I will wait for them till there's a confirmation that they are like committing to the site, right? And then I'll pop my ult, I'll throw a flash out, and I will start with the fights. So you can use it to kind of deter pushes for the most part. It's pretty strong there, and you can usually get 1 or 2. You're just an extra free body. And then once you come back, if they're still pushing, you can kind of go back in and fight with your team if they really need it and if it's a good scenario to use it there. Another thing you can do with his ultimate is just recovery of weapons and the spike. Let's say you're on an eco round, you got 1 or 2 picks, but you know they're guarding the gun and you're stuck here. What you can do is do something like this where you ult, you throw a flash and you grab it, and you'll generally, if they're holding the body, you're gonna end up dying in your ultimate, but you will get the gun. And using your ultimate to secure the gun in like a round where you guys are ecoed, right? But you have a pretty good shot of winning the round. Using it to just grab a gun or grab the spike is perfectly fine. You know, it doesn't need to be used only to get kills. You can also use it to get health back. If you're like down to 1 HP, you don't want to use your molly or your wall for some reason. Let's say you're using it for post plant, but you really want to get your health back. You can just peek, try and get the kill. Probably won't if you're 1 HP. Die, go back to your ult, get your health back. So there's a few ways you can use it there. Another way to use Phoenix ult is to obviously clear sight with Phoenix, throw all this util. But once you get to a certain point, start walking. Like walk up on this guy elbow and then go for a wide swing. He won't expect it at all. Nobody ever expects a Phoenix walking in his ultimate. I've said this many times and I still stick by it because it works. If you walk up on somebody with your Phoenix ultimate, you're going to catch them off like almost every single time. Because usually when the Phoenix ultimate comes out, every single Phoenix player will just run straight in for the most part, right? And maybe they'll throw a flash here and they'll just keep going and they'll clear everything out. Just sprinting, right? And that gives the enemy team a very good opportunity to kind of play around you in a sense where if you're trying to clear screen and they hear you just sprinting up, they can kind of ring around the rosy you on this box and you won't know unless you hard clear it. So using it to walk around a little bit, like yes, there is a timer, but the timer is fairly long. It's long enough to the point where you can throw in a little bit of mind game action to try and get a free kill using it. Like I said, people don't expect it. Another thing people don't expect is for you to pop ult, and let's say you know they generally don't play towards sight, and you can just sprint like straight to screens and just run through. And generally you can catch a rotator doing something like this. There have been a lot of times where I've just sprinted through the site because I know they don't really play on site for the most part and they play retake. So I'll just sprint through the site and maybe I'll throw a flash into screens and I'll start clearing it out. And even when you flash screens, they still don't expect you to get to that point where you're peeking into their spawn. So you can sprint straight through with Phoenix ult a lot of the times with little to no issues, right? If you know where they're going to be rotating from, you can kind of push the areas that they're rotating from, and it won't be expected a lot of the times. So with the molly here, you can use it pretty easily to kind of fake presence. Let's say you get tagged up from some guy walking out here. You can throw your molly like this to kind of simulate that you're just sitting there healing, and then you can kind of walk up on the angle, hopefully get a kill that way. A lot of times when you throw the molly after the enemy player knows he hit you, he's just going to instantly think that you're just healing with it. So if you're not healing with it, right, if you just throw it down to kind of fake presence and cut off an angle, you can kind of work up to another area. Obviously, all Molotovs are stalling and flushing utility. You can flush out angles, and you can stall with them. Like if the bomb is planted here, or if somebody is running out here, you can stall with it. You can use it for post plant, and you can use it to flush angles out. So one thing you can do is if you don't spend your wall, right, and you're here and there's no smoke, you can kind of smoke something off with your wall and then trap somebody in an angle with your molly and then flash and peek into them. That's another thing you can do. You can do that in a lot of different areas, but I'm just using that as an example. Not the best example, but that is a very good way to combo the molly with utility. Obviously, you can do lineup, but if you want to learn the lineups, they are out there. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to go over. Phoenix isn't as like two-dimensional as people make him out to be. He's not just an aggressive entry fragger. He has a lot of mind game potential with his util. That's very surprising to hear, but with how long Phoenix has been out, there's kind of a play style that's instilled in players' brains where they expect you to do very particular things when you use his utility. When you see a Phoenix wall go up, you know what he's usually going to be doing with it. When you see a Phoenix molly on the ground, you know he's generally going to be healing in it. When you see a flashbangs come out, you know what to do generally, right? You know how to counter most Phoenix players. So using Phoenix as a mind game character can be very, very strong, especially when you mix it in with aggressive entry fragging or just an aggressive playstyle or even a passive playstyle in general. You can very easily play Phoenix passively and kind of reactively throw your flashes, but we're not going to get into that too much because I have other videos talking about that specifically. So if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment, and I will see you guys when I'm back. I should be back in about 2 weeks from my trip. I'm currently on it right now, I believe. I'm recording this before I leave. I'm leaving in like 6 hours, so I gotta get this video made. But the next 3 videos are gonna be all pre-recorded, and then I will be back in July to start making content again for you guys. So I'll see y'all later, you freaky rat f***s. Have a good day.